time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur Podcast. I'm here today with the fabulous Allan Friesen, who's joining us from Lethbridge, right?
Lethbridge, correct. Yes.
Alberta, Canada, for those of you who have no idea where Lethbridge is. And I met Allan through some speaking that we were doing, and he is a certified employee benefit specialist. So today we're going to talk about his journey as a maturepreneur and how he's reinvented himself, but also how do you keep your employees as you grow your business? How do you keep yourself and your employees covered with healthcare insurance and other kinds of coverage so that you can have peace of mind while you're growing older, because frankly, most plans don't cover us as we get older. So we're going to be talking about that as well, a really practical aspect of being an entrepreneur. So welcome, Allan. I'm really happy you're here.
So pleased that I'm with you, Jeanette. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll tell you the official bio and the information, and then we're going to find out the juicy tidbits behind the scene and then get rocking on Allan's journey and what you can learn from it. So Allan Friesen is a certified employee benefit specialist with decades of experience in employee benefit programs. His new iteration, Caring Employers Healthy Team Collaborative, allows him to serve his clients better now than he has ever been able to in the past. His team works with caring employers and transforms the employee benefit expense into an investment in the health and well-being of the company owners and his or her team. His team wants to keep you and your team healthy. So, like I said, really important topic for entrepreneurs as you are growing your business. So I'm really happy we're going to be talking about this because it's something I need for myself and my team as well. So yay. All right. So first, let's launch into finding out a little bit more about you. So that's the official thing. We would find something like that on your website. What would people never guess by looking at you or knowing you? Maybe something even your friends don't know.
Well, not many people know this because not many people watch it, but I love to sing. And every night I go and sing on Facebook and YouTube, live streams of singing. So I'll sing for, 20 minutes, a half hour before I go to bed every night. So,
oh,
yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So now I have to go and look and see what you're like. Okay. And so, of course, we get to be stars on on the World Wide Web. We can go and put out whatever talents we have that way, nice and easy. What's your favorite kind of singing or genre?
Oh, I really love like bluesy and like from the 60s mostly. Like, do you know the song Bobby Hebb has a song called Sunny from 1966. Yeah. Oh, I just love that song, right? So
awesome.
That's an example. Yeah.
And do you play any instruments while you sing or just you?
No, just sing.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty brave. So tell me a little bit about your why. Why do you do the work that you do?
So I believe, as I think you'll agree, that health is the most important asset we have. With health, we can achieve basically anything and get full satisfaction and joy and participation and contribution in our life. Without health, we just can't, right? So I believe, I'm not a doctor, obviously, so I can't help anybody with those kind of things, but I can help with access to health and health, dental, medical type supports. So that's the job I see, is providing access, advice, direction in terms of how you get these supports in your lives so that you can stay healthy, be healthy, and kind of maintain the quality of life as best as you are able right up until you breathe your last. That would be my hope. I hope that you and I, when we're 115, will have a perfect health and then just like die. That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome. I like that idea. All right. So, has that, I mean, obviously you care about that now, and that's part of what you do, but where do you think that came from, that passion for taking care of people and taking care of health and so forth? Is that something, did you grow up with people that weren't very healthy? Where did that come from?
It's more so that I think I've been involved in the insurance business all of my adult life. And initially it was things like, insuring houses and houses and buildings and fleets on vehicles and liability insurance and, those kind of things about insuring stuff. Right. And then when, in my about year 10 in my, insurance career, then I got introduced to group benefits and it just like really resonated with me, or employee benefits or team benefits, whatever we want to call them. It really resonated with me as, okay, well, this is a way to be a vehicle to help people get what they need in order to get healthy and stay healthy. So I've really enjoyed that. And I get a great deal of satisfaction that if I'm talking to somebody and they say, gee, here's my situation, I need this real expensive drug. And I say, hey, I know a way that we can help get this drug covered for you, right? Or, I need this, I need an MRI and the healthcare system says it's going to be 18 months before I can get it.
Yeah.
I know a way we can get this done quicker for you, right? So, just having knowledge of the healthcare system and a desire to assist people with getting the resources they need to get healthy and stay healthy is very gratifying for me. And I'm one of the users of that as well, right? I have a chiropractor and an acupuncturist and a naturopath and a psychologist and a dentist and a pharmacist. I have all of it. Like I just use
Yeah.
all of those services as well. And so that's kind of another, I try stuff off on myself to see if it helps me. And then I can speak to it in confidence to somebody else. Well, here's my experience. Here's how it helped my health and well-being. So
Awesome. So what got you into insurance in terms of, because a lot of times I've got a client right now who's an insurance person in Airdrie, and her background and her why was that she watched her mother having to deal with money because her father was very irresponsible, and so her mother was the one who had to kind of sneak around and take care of the money behind the scenes because of the culture she came from. And she really wanted to, she grew up with wanting women to be empowered about their money and able to take control and take charge of their money. So she got into financial services, insurance, etc. Because, frankly, most people would go, why would you go into insurance? So why do you think it's so important for people to be protected in some way?
yeah, I just think it's something that no matter how well we take care of ourselves, right? And like a lot of our health and wellness is related to our personal habits that we do and how well we eat and how well we move and how we manage our emotions and life circumstances, those kind of things. But we all need additional supports to be able to get healthy, stay healthy. And I think because I benefited from that and I've been able to help others benefit from that, it's just I sort of stumbled into it and then just I'm really good at it. So then I focus on it and just that is I try and not get distracted with other type of insurance products. Not that they're not important, but I just kind of stick to what I know best and where I know I can provide the most value. So
All right. Well, let's talk a bit about your entrepreneurial journey, because you came out of corporate, and like many people, you have a bit of a corporate trauma story, um,
uh, yeah.
and not a bit of one. You have a corporate trauma story, and I think that for many people, myself included, there have been times when being part of a large organization hasn't necessarily been all that beneficial, has been stressful, has been perhaps what we would deem unfair or unreasonable. So you were with Alberta Blue Cross, which is an insurance provider, a private insurance provider here in Canada. So for those of you who are listening who are not Canadians, for a long time, right? Was that your last career gig?
Not exactly. I was with Alberta Blue Cross as an employee for 26 years. And then I had a large insurance brokerage that contacted me that wanted to set up an office in my community in Lethbridge. And I agreed to do that. And so we set up, and then basically with that, I had access to more insurers, not just Alberta Blue Cross, which is a good insurer, but they have limitations. As an example, smaller companies with them, they will stop the benefits at age 70. Well, there's a lot of people who are active in their companies well beyond age 70. So that was always a frustration when I was an Alberta Blue Cross employee that, gee, I got the owner of the company, and I have to tell him that he or she is no longer covered. Well, that's craziness, right? So that's what kind of my history was. And then I get into this insurance agency that has access to these other insurers so I could better meet client needs. That was great. And so that was a great experience that I could do more in that regard. And I have always had kind of the role that my job is to put the interests of my client, and that when I say client, I mean the employer and their team members, ahead of any insurance company, right? And ahead of my self-interest, right? And I believe that's also what the Alberta Insurance Act would say as well. Like, this is your job is to put the interest of your client ahead of your own and ahead of the insurance company. So a year ago, I had a situation where, and I won't say the insurer, but a large insurer had a very unfair policy or practice in which they were kind of penalizing the longer term employees and preventing them from getting the full value of their coverages. In this particular case, the employer contacted me and said, our employee Gary, our valued team member Gary, has cancer, and he's really worried right now because instead of him getting the $1,200 a week on a short-term disability, he's only getting $530. So Allan, will you help? And so I researched what the problem was, and this insurer had this very punitive provision that was penalizing these long-term employees. And I went to the insurer and voiced my concern that this wasn't fair or reasonable, and I wanted them to do the right thing. And they weren't responding. And then with the agency that I was partnered with at that time, I tried to engage them to help me to get the insurer to do the right thing. And they weren't responding. They just said, oh, too bad, so sad, Gary's out of luck. So I didn't like those responses. And Gary was like, texting me, I'm going to lose my house, like kind of a thing, right? And so what I did was I did a video that I posted on Facebook and YouTube and basically called them out and said, hey, if I had this client with any other insurer, Gary'd be getting his $1,200 a week. So do the right thing, big insurer company. And they did the right thing, and they paid Gary the right amount of money. So that was very gratifying. But right after that, the insurer and the agency terminated their relationship with me. And then actually went out of their way to try and block me from being in the industry. They encouraged other insurers to not contract with me. So as of like February of 2023, I had like 250 employers as clients. March 1 of 2023, I had 0. And so I was starting all over. And so now we've been rebuilding that, and away we go. And it kind of made it so that I could kind of recreate what I was trying to achieve. And the agency that I had as a relationship with before, they were very much not really, I don't think very, how am I trying to say this? They would refer to their clients or the employees of a client as skulls. Oh, this is a 30 skull group. Okay, well, that was just like, it hurt my soul to hear those kind of words. So who am I want to attract? I want to attract a caring employer, an employer who recognizes the value their team members bring to them and their ability to serve their clients. And that is kind of what we created, the Caring Employers Healthy Teams Collaborative. With that, I went and I've approached other insurers that are of a like mindset, and this message resonated with them, and they agreed to this block pricing type of an arrangement. So this block pricing arrangement is where basically they said, okay, Allan, you have this platform that you can bring a lot of clients to us. We're going to shrink down the administration component in our normal rate structure so that you can pass these savings on to these clients so that you can grow and build what you're trying to achieve here. And
Mhm.
so I have 3 insurers that I've agreed to that block pricing agreement, and they're great insurers, and we can provide extremely good value. But the other part, going back to when I couldn't help my senior employees in companies, 2 of those insurers have agreed to keep the health, dental, and travel coverage right up until that maturepreneur says, I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. Whether that's 80 or 90 or 105 years old, which very gratifying to me because people are living longer. It's very important for them to have a role on an ongoing basis and a meaning and purpose to their lives, as I think you would agree, Jeanette. That's what you're doing as well. And so this is super gratifying for me. The other insurer is really good too, but they stop the travel at age 75. They'll keep the health and dental right to retirement age, whenever that maturepreneur decides to pull the pin. But on the other 2, they'll even keep the travel coverage, which is amazing.
Yeah, and super important because travel insurance right now, the older you get, and if you've got any kind of conditions whatsoever, is so expensive. Oh my God.
Oh,
It makes
yes.
travel prohibitive. It's more than the flight and the accommodations combined. And so that's really annoying because that's just the time that a lot of people really want to start traveling. And
Yeah.
you do not want to be in foreign countries without some kind of coverage because you never know what's going to happen, especially because COVID's still around and so forth. But the last time I went to Florida for COVID and regular medical coverage with the least expensive one I could find, 3 months was like, I want to say 12 to $1,800 to $1,600, something like that, just for travel medical insurance, which is just like
Yes.
nutsy cuckoo.
Well,
Um,
the other thing too, Jeanette, just to interject one thing, besides the price of it, the terms in terms of what the coverage is on a group basis is way broader, way more inclusive that it's going to pay claims, where the individual plans often have stability clauses or pre-existing conditions that allow the insurer ways to get out of paying claims, right? And
exactly.
so it's the pricing, but also it's the availability, the best coverage, because I'm hoping my clients are staying healthy, actively involved in their business in their 80s and 90s and 100 years old. So,
Yeah, exactly, which is a trend that we're seeing more and more and more, which is why
yes.
it's an important conversation because not only do you need to, cover yourself, but also employees. So I want to go back to your journey story for a moment because I think there's a lot of really good lessons in there. One is doing the right thing isn't always easy. And
No,
it is sometimes has some consequences, but it sounds like to me that you would, in hindsight, still do it again, even knowing all of the fallout. Is that true?
definitely so. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that now when I look back on it, I say, okay, this happened for me and allowed me to kind of recreate how I do things. And just for your interest, Gary is doing well.
Good.
He got what
Awesome.
he
I was just
needed.
gonna ask about him. Okay, so, and I think that's a really important distinction, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, that shit happens and we can see it and frame it as it happening to us, or we can see it and frame it as it happening for us. And that's a much more empowering story to tell because we're making up the stories anyway, so we might as well make up more empowering ones. So when you say it happened for you, tell me what the biggest benefit of this transition has been for you.
Well, in retrospect, life was so easy before. I had really high income, no real expenses, and it was like super simple. Like but it become, I think, somewhat complacent, right? And especially when you're connected to an agency that refers to people as skulls, right, or hands, or that don't regard them as being, valuable human beings, then that was, I guess I was kind of compromising my own personal beliefs by being affiliated with that kind of a agency, right? And
Mm.
so then when I kind of separated from that, I kind of drew a line in the sand and said, no, 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 this is what I stand for. I stand to be for somebody who needs some help, and how can I get them the help? And my whatever assistance I'm going to be, I'm not really concerned about how it impacts the insurance company. I'm concerned how it impacts that insured or that company in terms of keeping their teams well. So I think it was just kind of it was a flip the switch type of a moment, right? And initially it was like I was devastated, first of all, because I never even had a bad job review ever in my life, right? Certainly never been terminated from a job or terminated from any kind of a contract. And here I was, like terminated and had, you know,
Ostracized.
yeah, ostracized and yeah, trying to kind of kick me right out of the business, right? And at that point, I was 65 years old. So at that point, a lot of people would be, you would say, okay, I guess I'm out, right? But that's not the case. I have a great team and we rallied and we kind of found a new way to navigate. So super excited.
Awesome. Okay. So, again, some really valuable lessons in there for people, because I think one of the big things that's important about these conversations is to really get at how do people think about things in order to be resilient, in order to make those next leaps, in order to reinvent yourself and find the what's next piece for you. And one of the things that there's a bunch of things that I've heard in this. One is when when shit happens to you, when something happens, you get to make a choice. Is this going to make me stronger? Am I going to find some benefit in this? Am I going to let this be the wake up call from complacency, like you said? Or is this going to be something I'll be victimized by and taken out by? And so that's the first step. Second step is to define, like you said, what am I a stand for in the world? Who do I want to be? What do I want to create, and how do I want to, what's the difference I want to be in the world? And so I think that that's a really important aspect of what you did. Was it looked at your values, looked at what was important to you, looked at what you wanted to fix out there and be a conduit for. And so I'm a big proponent of finding your why you do, what your purpose is, and then how do you live into that and profit yourself and other people from that. And so that's what you did. Was you looked at your values, what was important to you, what are you going to be a stand for, what do you want your legacy to be, which is what I, in my listening, is a more collaborative and supportive and humanistic, if you will, way to create safety for people, using insurance and other vehicles. But really, how do we reinvent an industry that has been dominant and therefore thinks they can do things any way they want? How do we make the status quo that has to go? How do we do that? And so I really love that the components of what you said was, I decided what my stand was, what my values were. Then I went and looked for people who matched that. I enrolled them in the vision and got them to come on board with creating a new kind of service and solution, if you will. And ladies and gentlemen, that is such an important thing for you to think about. If you are thinking, what's next? How do I reinvent myself? That's a brilliant path. Figure out what your stand for. Who do you need to enroll to help you go and be that in the world? And then how do you rally a team around you to create that, take that vision into a reality? So I love that.
I just interject one thing as well here, just at this point, I think it's appropriate. So, with the whole block pricing and, these other arrangements, another thing we decided at that time, because our origins were in being an advocate for the individual, right? That is kind of built into our DNA as an organization. So we are an advocate for the team members as well. Most of the group insurance industry, they cater to the employer, saying, oh, the employer is the decision maker, and the employees, well, here's the 1-800 number you call, and good luck with that. I hope you get an answer in 4 hours or whatever. We don't do it that way. We say, like, we are also going to advocate on behalf of any of our team members, and then they just tell us what they're trying to do or what the challenges they're going to have, and then we will go to bat for them to kind of make a solution with it. Yeah, can I share an example? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this one woman, a team member from one of our companies, she needed a new CPAP machine. And she had one of those sleep studies, and the sleep study basically was in a different model or different number rating. Like there's HIA and RID. So two different things they use to assess the level of sleep disorder the person is having, right? In practical terms, the respiratory type technician type folks will say those numbers mean the same thing. If you've got a 28 on this scale or you got a 28 on this scale, this is severe, a CPAP machine is justified, right? this particular insurer had said, oh, no, no, it was done in the HIA. We want it to be in the RID, blah, blah, blah. And so, and the problem was the individual, the sleep study would take like 4 days out of her life, because 2 days she can't use her CPAP machine, and then 2 days they do the assessment, right? And so she was like, gee, do I really have to do this? If I have to get this paid, I'll do it. And so my team went and had a conversation with the respiratory people, the experts, and said, tell us how this scale works. And they clarified that these values were interchangeable. So we went back to the insurance company and said, this doesn't make sense. It's not fair or reasonable for this individual to have to do this sleep study, interrupt her life in order for you to pay this claim. We want you to just pay this claim. And first of all, they balked at that. And then we went to they have a liaison officer in their firm, which we found to access those sometimes to get the insurer to do the right thing. In the end, they agreed to do the right thing. And then that person did not have to do that sleep study in order to get her new CPAP machine covered. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Love that story. And the piece again that I want to translate into general information for people listening is there's two lessons that I take out of that. One is, what is going to be your differentiator in the market? And one of the things that Allan is talking about here is they chose customer service and customer advocacy as a differentiation point because most of the others go here. So when I'm talking to clients, I talk about how do you get out of the red ocean of doing what everybody else does, where there's lots of competition and it's all the same, to the blue ocean where it's calm, there's very little competition. What's the thing that you can choose to, how do you go where they're not? So if they're all doing this, how do you go here? And I think that's a great way for you to differentiate yourself in alignment with your values of really being a stand for people to be taken care of. So
beautifully said, Jeanette. Beautifully said.
Differentiation. Yeah, that's awesome. The other thing that I took from that is in terms of your enrollment in the block, discounts and so forth. Part of what people may think when they're starting a new business is they don't really have any power. They think like they have to kind of come cap in hand to whomever to enroll them to get support. And so this has actually been instructional for me to think, okay, how do I flip my thinking about the value that I bring to the partners that I want to negotiate with? So like in your case, you came and said like, look, I'll bring you a lot of customers, but you need to give me a deal. So setting ourselves up to work with partners in a way where we come from that strength of, let's create a win-win. I'll bring you clients, you give them a better deal. It's a win-win for everybody, win-win-win. So thinking about, as you're thinking about your new business or your new venture or your new whatever you're doing, how do you think about that in terms of what are the strengths and benefits you can bring to the partners or the people that you want to enroll, the stakeholders? So awesome on that. And I really want to kind of find out from you, what was it like transitioning from, because I know you're doing similar work in terms of the insurance side of things, but what was it like transitioning from being an employee your whole life up till 65 to being an entrepreneur? What was the biggest challenge for you? Because it's only a year, a little over a year. So what's been the biggest challenge?
Well, definitely it was really scary, no question, right? And I really had to kind of bite the bullet on terms of like I cashed in RRSPs, I cashed in investments. Like I knew that there was no way I would have the cash flow to be able to do what I needed to do to make the changes. So in those respects, it was scary. But in the other respect, it was like I was kind of crafting what I think is going to be my legacy long term, right? Because part of what we're trying to do is take 20% of our revenue and provide support to people in our community to keep them fed and safe. So in my way of thinking, I'm going to maintain the best health and wellness I can for me, but it's also not just for me, it's in order so that I can fuel that contribution to community. So we want to look after our team members and the employers, but then again, we want to take the revenue we get from them and then support community members, helping them stay fed and safe. So it's kind of like my plan is to never retire. At 115, I'm going to drop dead with my boots on, and then I'm just not going to return phone calls is what's going to happen. So yeah.
All right, and hopefully you'll have systems in place for someone else to return the call by then. So
Yeah,
let me, so I really, really love that kind of enthusiasm. And the fact is, yes, it can be scary because yes, we do have to invest um, in whatever it is that we're doing, whether that's time or energy or money or all of the above. You could have, because you said you made good money. Chance it sounds like you probably could have retired if you wanted to. You were 65. What was the biggest driver for you to say, no, I'm going to start all over?
basically that I'm not done. I'm far from done. You know, I have a lot of skill and talents, and at this point, to be now that I can contribute to my clients' well-being, health and wellness and well-being, and their financial well-being better than I've ever been able to do in my life.
Yeah,
That's like so inspiring to me, right?
yes.
And then also just that, and when it comes to leaving a legacy, that's like I don't think I've kind of made the contributions to my community or my clients that I want to, and that I will be able to so long as I remain healthy. And
Mhm.
so my plan is never to retire and just to continue until I don't have the capacity for this, which I'm actually probably in the best health now than I've ever been because I made a lot of changes
Yeah.
since then too, right? So I lost a bunch of weight. I'm doing yoga and meditation, and I'm eating clean, like plant-based, so I'm in really good, the best health I've ever been in. So yeah,
You know, the majority of people that I talk to that are, I'm 64, that are 65 and up and so forth, that are doing things that inspire them. Most of them will say they are in the best shape they've been, or have the most energy, or are the most passionate or excited or alive. There's a study that shows that we are happiest when we're very young and very old, and that it's called the happiness U, and that we're our most unhappiness when we're in our midlife, right? So 30 to 50 kind of thing, 30, 55, when we're most stressed, we're most focused on acquisition and climbing the ladder and materialism and so forth. But that one of the advantages of having older workers, for example, is they improve the morale of the workplace because they're happier. They
mm,
have higher EQ, emotional intelligence, and so forth. Um, and and almost all of them that I talk to that are excited about what they're doing are better off. So there's again another study that people with a purpose live 7 years longer and 7 qualitative years longer. So happier
exactly.
than those that don't. So I love that you are the poster child for that. What does legacy mean to you? Because you've mentioned it a couple times. Why is it important?
Well, to contribute to the health and wellness of my employer clients and their team members, that's a value, and I very much appreciate that. And it fills me with joy to make a difference in people's lives in that regard.
Mhm.
But our community also, I believe there's enough for everybody. Like right now, right here, there's enough for everybody. It's not structured correctly, it's not apportioned correctly, but there's a way that we can support it. So if I can create, let's say, $500,000 in annual revenue for my firm, then my plan is to donate about 100,000 of that, 20%, in order to keep people fed and keep people safe. I went through COVID, actually. I scaled back a whole bunch of my volunteer things. Not that those weren't important. They were important, but they're not as important as the contribution I want to make. And so then my focus now is, okay, how can we end poverty in our community? Is that possible? Yes, it is, right? So I'm working with an organization called Shenla, volunteering with an organization called Shenla, which is a social health equity network, Lethbridge. And we are one of 5 communities across Western Canada that have been approved as a community ending poverty. And we've got all these resources from the Tamarack Foundation, where I'm hoping that I can contribute to our little group in terms of getting the coordination and the moving that project forward, and just starting to coach people, help people, assist people to move them out of poverty. Tamarack has done it for like 100,000 people throughout. No, it's not 100,000, 1 million people out of Canada, across Canada. And
Well,
in our community here in Lethbridge, we have about 100,000 people. And if we can, we can start making, if not if, we can start making a dent in that and moving people out of poverty, right? So it's doable to do. It's doable, and I have the capacity and the interest and some time and talent to contribute, right?
Yes.
Fortunately, I have a bunch of very smart women who could guide me because sometimes my enthusiasm needs a little direction. So yes.
Well, that's often the case with visionaries. I was just talking to a client earlier today who is the quintessential visionary, like myself. We need those operational implementation support people to keep us on track, to keep us from going after every bright, shiny object that comes up. Um,
Yes.
so I love the goal. I'm going to challenge you, Alan, and say you're thinking too small. How about 5 million so that a million goes to your community every year?
Oh,
Okay, because
I love that.
you can
Nice.
do
Okay,
that.
here's I'm throwing some hearts your way. Here they
Okay,
come.
I love it.
That's a good one.
And because you can do that, I absolutely can see that for you without any doubt. And that's actually not a large insurance company. That's, you can do that, and I will send you as many people as possible to support that. Speaking of support, tell me before we start to wrap up here, what was the biggest what support did you call in for this transition? And in hindsight, what do you wish you had called in?
Well, you know what? It was just kind of in sharing my story of what happened. And first of all, it was like, woe is me and this happened to me and that kind of a thing. And then as I'm expressing what I did, and I had people come and say, hey, like, I love what you're doing here. You're trying to change this and you're trying to make it better. So my colleagues, they all, my team members, they all kind of in having a conversation with Kelvin, who's a Rotarian like me. And I was at a Rotary conference and I was telling him, and he said, I want to be part of this. I said, okay, you're hired. And then when I talked to my friend Sherry, who's also a Rotarian and very smart, very caring, lovely, lovely woman, then when I was telling her about what we're trying to do or my vision for this or our vision as it's unfolded, then we hired Sherry on board. And then Sherry, she has kind of another gig, so she couldn't be our full-time person. And
Yep.
Sherry said, hey, you need Leslie. And so Sherry said, I don't have the time and energy to do this. I want to be involved and I can do this much for you, Alan, but you need Leslie. So based on Sherry's recommendation, we hired Leslie, brought Leslie on board. And then, I had a relationship with folks in a company who were doing my website stuff and, all those kind of things. And instead of contracting with their company, I just hired them. So Scott and Michelle came on board as well. So that is our team that is together and is moving this forward. And then the second thing is just attracting the insurance company resources, right? When we had these conversations and we had that this approach resonated with these insurance companies, right? That their people said, oh, we like what you're doing. We want to be part of this. How do we make this happen? It just sort of, I was blessed to find people who kind of agreed with the vision or the vision resonated with them. And then we just kind of formed, right? And then we've been sorting things out as we go, but we're refining as we go and moving forward. So
That's awesome. And again, I want to deconstruct a couple things that are instructional for those of our listeners here. What you did was you very brilliantly enrolled around your why, what I call your why, your purpose or your reason for doing what you do, what you believe in. And Simon Sinek has a brilliant TED talk on leadership that is actually the 17 best minutes on marketing that you could ever watch. And he wrote the book Start With Why. People buy why you do what you do, not what you do.
yes, very well said.
Like one
Yes.
of a million insurance agents in the world, in Canada alone, probably in Alberta, and yet your why is compelling. People will work with you, will enroll with you as team members, as suppliers, as vendors, as customers because of your why, because of your passion for your why. So please really hear that, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have your why defined, you need that. That's what people will be attracted to. And what was really cool in your story of how you built your team was you enrolled based on that alignment with the same why. They have the same why as you, and therefore you all resonate, you click, and they're building your business not for you, but for them.
Yeah.
People follow us not because of us, but because of who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great illustration of how to grow your business quickly, because that's a lot of people in a short time. And to have great team members is to have them in alignment with your why, so that it's their cause, not just yours. You're not the only one pulling everyone along with you. They're pulling you along with them. So brilliant work on that. And I also love, just as a little distinction from a while back, I love that you call your clients team members. So when you're talking about employers and their team, you talk about them as your team members as well. That's a indication of a cultural kind of way of thinking and zeitgeist. So again, for those of you listening, your beliefs need to permeate everything in your company, including what you call your clients, how you think of them. Or do you think of them as skulls, or in the training industry, it's bums in seats, right? Or do you think of them as hearts in seats instead, or the people that we want to support? What do you call things? That'll make a difference to how you engage with it yourself and engage other people with your concepts. So great information that you're providing here, and great examples of what works. So what do you see as the thing that most excites you about your future?
Well, now you've given me a whole new goal. Before I was only looking to get to 500,000 revenue. Now I'm going to go to 5 million.
Yep.
So Jeanette, you're scaring the hell out of me a little bit, but
Awesome.
I'm inspired. Uh,
Yes.
and I just like, there's absolutely no reason that so long as we
Yeah.
stay healthy, that we can't move this forward and really grow it and build it and enhance our contribution that we're making, right? That, we're contributing this much, that's great. We want to contribute this much, right? So yeah, so that's very inspiring. And back to the whole thing about where we refer to our clients as the team members. Those team members, if they need our support, our assistance, they send an email to my team at allanfriesen.com, and one of our team responds and gets that solved, whatever their situation is, right?
So again, another differentiator is a value add service that most agencies don't provide. You have to go direct to the insurer, you have to go direct. So how do you, in your businesses that you're thinking of, folks, how do you, it's called take the friction out of both the buying process, but also the customer service process. How do you make it easier for people to choose you, to want to work with you, and to stay with you? And this is one of the things that's brilliant about what Allan is designing into his business, is that desire to work with him, because it's easy and you feel cared for and you feel taken care of. And that's what people really want. They want to know that they matter. And so on that note, I really love that you're advocating for coverage for people who are older, because like you said, we're going to be working until we're 70, 80, 90 by choice or by necessity or some combination thereof. But we want to be able to have the support that we deserve. And enough of this organizations denying us basic requirements that they would give to a 40-year-old or whatever, like that shit's just got to go. So I'm glad that you're being an advocate for that in the world. So before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about the offer that you have for people, because I think it's quite unique and interesting, both in terms of the framing of the offer and how it will support people.
You bet. Thank you very much, Jeanette. Yeah, basically, I don't believe, and now I'm going to sound very arrogant, but I'll go with it. I don't believe there's anybody that knows this business better than I do, period. I don't think there's another human being in Alberta or Canada that knows this better than I do. So I would gladly consult with any of your listeners and do a review of the solutions that they have in place. And I would provide a no cost, no obligation summary with recommendations of how they can enhance that value. And if in fact I can't, like the solution they have in place is perfect, I'm going to congratulate them and say, good for you. You've done an amazing job in getting the perfect solution. What charity can I donate $100 on your behalf to? You let me know, and I'll just cut a check to them right away. So that is what I would love to offer to you and your listeners. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to put the link for you to go to Allan's calendar. But Allan, tell them what that link is as well, in case they don't see it.
Sure. So my website is allanfriesen.com, ALLANFRIESEN.com, and then /book is my calendar. So you can just click on there and you can just pick a time that works for you. Or my my cell phone number is the easiest cell phone number to find in the world. It's 587-220-8840. If you Google Allan Friesen's cell phone number, you're going to get it like right away. So send me a text, give me a call. I'm very approachable, and definitely I would, either way, send me an email to myteam@allanfriesen.com, or text or call me on 587-220-8840, or go to the website allanfriesen.com/book, pick a time, and love to have a chat with you, either in person or on Zoom, whatever works for you.
Okay, and let's just be a little clear about the limitations of that. Do you work with people only in Alberta, in Canada, in the world? What's your scope?
Yes, so my scope, I've expanded my licensing. I was only licensed in Alberta, but now I'm licensed in BC, Alberta, and Manitoba, and soon to be Saskatchewan. I'm just finishing up the details with the Saskatchewan. So Western Canada is my area.
Okay, awesome. And for those of you who perhaps are people who want to talk to him about business, or about making your leap, or how to find a good insurer in your area, things like that, I'm willing to bet that if you sent an email, he probably would reply. So, so reach out, have that conversation. I think that's a very brave and bold offer. And for those, again, those of you who are listening, a little meta teaching on this, when you have a discussion with people, AKA a sales call, provide value, provide some tangible takeaway so that there's a benefit to them, even if they don't do business with you. But when you stand behind your expertise like that by saying, I'll donate $100 to a charity of your choice if I can't add value, well, that's catches people's interest and attention, and makes it more safe for them. It's called a risk reversal to book a call with you. So it's a brilliant offer. And I also really applaud you in owning your expertise. One of the things that most people don't do, I literally was talking to a brilliant woman earlier today who is an incredible expert in her field, incredibly accomplished, and was talking about her imposter syndrome. I've been working at this for 40 years, and I still have moments where I have what I call shame shit storms, where I get into my stuff and I'm not good enough and I can't do this and da da da, even after the better part of 40 plus years doing it. So owning the value you provide, owning your expertise and your wisdom is so important. There's enough of the world that says that we don't matter, that we do not need to add to that BS. Own your value.
Oh, love that, sister. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. I agree.
All right. Thank you so much, Allan. So tell them again your email address, or sorry, your website, so they can get in touch if they want to talk to you.
Yes, ma'am. So it is email my team at allanfriesen.com, and Allan Friesen is ALLANFRIESEN. So that's the email. The website is allanfriesen.com. If you go to put a / and then book behind it, then you just pick a time and date, or call, text me on my cell phone, 587-220-8840. My team or myself will get back to you promptly, and we will certainly do our best to serve you and assist you in increasing your health and wellness.
Awesome. All right. What's one last piece of advice you want to leave people with? Not about insurance or anything like that, but about having the courage to step into whatever their legacy is going to be.
Yeah, you know what? I think you've already spoken about this. Like there's only one of you in the whole world, right? There's only one of me in the whole world. We have a unique set of experiences and thoughts and things that we have learned that nobody else has, right? So own it, right? Be like, don't try and be or compare yourself with anybody else. Just be the most you that you can be, right? And whatever that is, that's definitely going to be enough. And just like focus on that, and life will turn out a lot less stressful and a lot more easy to just kind of navigate, to say, I'm just being me, doing what I can do. And the things that are outside of that scope, great. You push that, or you release that to somebody else, right? But what you know, and utilize it to your best ability.
Beautiful. Great, great advice. I call that being the difference that only you can be in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to this program to get more brilliant people like Allan inspiring you, giving you ideas about what you can do or be or have. And by all means, do reach out to him for support if you happen to live in Western Canada. If you don't, then feel free to reach out to me to talk about your upcoming business ideas, to brainstorm about what you could do if you're not clear. I am available. We'll put my link in the chat as well if you want to talk about what your next steps are. Because sometimes you don't know how to make that transition, or sometimes you're already doing your business and you want to expand it and you just need someone to say to you, how about 10xing that idea? Because sometimes we all need a little nudge to move outside our comfort zone. So thank you so much for being here, Allan. Please reach out to get support. As you all heard, you can't do it without support. We all need a team. So thank you for being here. And ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, share the podcast, but more importantly, reach out to get support from someone to help you with your next steps. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Jeanette.
Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.